Okay, hello everyone. Also from me, welcome to this 3Design digital event and thank you for attending. I would also like to say thank you to 3Design for the introduction and the interesting morning sessions we have had so far. So, I'm Luc van den Broek. I'm in charge of training and technical support for 3Design in Belgium and Benelux. For this afternoon's digital event, I would like to give a demonstration on how to create a non-symmetrical ring or a split ring and show you the creation of a castle setting on its shank. I've had several questions about support for making these kinds of rings, so hence my choice for this model, one as you can see shown in the image here. We've got 45 minutes, so we will get right into it. Okay, I will start the building of my ring with a ring size. Okay, in this case I will use a European size 53 or any other size you need. I'm going to increase the height of my top plane. I will set it at 5 millimeters to make sure my stone will be above my finger size, so it will not touch and I have space for my cullet. And very important, I want to make a trillion cut stone which is non-symmetrical, and I want to have the point directing to the side of the ring. So I'm going to turn the direction of my plane to make the building of my stone directly in the right orientation. Therefore I will use the 270-degree rotation. As you can see with the text orientation of plane, my stone will have a point on the right side and the flat part on the left side. So I can validate this. Now I want to use a stone image that, for instance, I got from a customer. I will import the image I have from a scan, or in my case an image I created. So I will use the image. I have one ready for my stone. So I will position it a bit according to my plane. Okay. Then first perhaps I will determine the size I want. Let's say I put the stone inside my measure tool and adjust it, and let's say I want a diameter of 6 millimeters. So let me validate that. Okay, we'll just adjust the position again and center it. It is not so important because it's just for the sketch. I can position the stone later. I'm going to use this one. Okay, sounds okay, looks good. Now I am freezing my image so it won't bother me using it again. I will select my ring size builder and build a sketch on my plane. As you can see, it turns directly into the orientation I decided before. Now I'm going to use a triangle to build my stone. I'm going to use polygon and I will set my number of sides at 3. I will be using the Ada tool at the top of the screen that says enable horizontal and vertical smart snap. That way if I draw it will move straight to the top. I'm clicking in the center and as you can see it goes straight up. Now I want to have a triangle of 6 millimeters, which is okay, I think. Okay, now as you can see in the tree, it's a polygon, it's a shape. Now the shape of my triangle stone is a bit bended, so I'm going to change from shape to curve. This will add points to my sides, which I can manage. In the tree you see it's now a curve. I select my points I need and I will resize them. Okay, just need one more point. I didn't select before, so go to scale, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger to adjust my stone I have. And let's say I want this 5 millimeters. This looks good. This will give me the stone shape I want. Okay, now I'm leaving my sketch. I don't need my plane anymore, or my imaging plane anymore, so I'm either deleting it or hiding it. And I will have my stone shape here. I'm just going back inside sketch. See, I started my drawing in the middle, but since it's a triangle, it's not centered very nicely, so I will do so now with my center tool. This way, if I come back in my part, it will be positioned better. Okay, so I'm now going to build a stone from my curve using my custom stone builder for that. You can use any stone from any curve, doesn't matter. I can use a diamond or any stone I want. Let's say for this I will use a ruby. It's not so important. Now what we can do here is, for instance, also adjust the number of facets, so maybe it looks more like my real stone. Okay, I think I can validate, and I have my ruby. Okay, that's my first step. Good. What I will do now is create my ring shank. We'll build it using a curve, so for this I will select my vertical plane and go to sketch. Now I need to stay with my building on my ring size. I can't use this ring size builder because it's in the part and I'm in the sketch, so I'm gonna build a new ring size with the basic ring tool. Okay, properties are normally the same as I used before. I'm also going to, when it's done, change the shape, because now I only have a form and I want a curve. So when I'm going to curve, you'll see I have all the points that I need to make a perfect circle like this, and I can follow it as a guide. So I'm going to use my NURBS curve to build my basic shape. I'll start at the top of the ring. My prongs will be too long, but that's okay for fabrication. And I will add a few points near the girdle of the stone. And then I will bend more to the center. I can adjust these points at any time later, doesn't matter. And from here I will link my curve to the existing points of the circle. That way the shape will be exactly the same. Okay, then I will go up the other side. I will try to go as symmetrical as I can, but here you can see, because of it's a triangle, I will need to go to the bottom of the corner of the stone and go from there. Okay. If I want, I can also align my points horizontally. This is not necessary, but why not? It makes it more exact. Here the curve I will adjust to make the crossing more centered, or I can do it also afterwards when I've built the ring. As you will see my tree, there's a warning sign. It's not a problem, it's just telling me there is an intersection here. But since we need a 3D curve, it will be adjusted on the top part of my stone, which then solve the problem or the warning. I will select my top points and move them to the side to align them better with the stone. I will try to make the same distance from this corner than the first point I drew. Okay, there. And I will also adjust the other points, or maybe later, to make the curve bend nicer. We can play with the drag tool, which is very nice to do it on a 3D curves, and it gives me a lot of possibility. As you see, the warning sign has already gone. I'm gonna hide my original ring because also that one I don't need anymore. Now my ring is okay, my rail. I will now build my profiles I need to build my shank. I need a triangle profile for my prongs up here, and I will go into a D-shaped profile for my shank down below. But I also want a castle setting on my shank, so therefore I will deform my D-shaped profile and make it ready for my setting. So the first thing I will draw is my prong profile. I will use again my three-sided polygon. It doesn't matter exactly where, I just need a triangle again. Let's say I want it 1.6 millimeters, and I'm going to make the edges rounded. Okay, and that's the right shape for my prong. Now I will create my D-shaped profile for my shank. I will use a symmetrical NURBS curve, and I will create my D-shaped profile. Only a few clicks in the corner to make it a bit rounded, and the height. Okay, once that's done, I can adjust the size, so I will use the scaling tool to set the size I want. Let's say we go for 2.5 on a width and 1.5 of the height. Okay, and now I'm going to use this as a start for my second profile. I will copy the curve and adjust it more to the rectangular shape. So by doing this, I can move it, adjust it, and I keep the same number of points, which is better for later. Now I want this shape also scaled, and I will scale, okay, let's say a width of 2, and let's set or put the height on 1.6. Okay. Good. Now, with these three profiles, I will start building my ring shank. I will use my curve here. I'm just gonna hide my ring size builder, don't need that anymore. I will use my sweeping wizard. I have my white gold selected, so okay. My ring shank will be built on my curve 2, and I will add sections. I will add a section with my triangle to create my prong at the top. As you can see, the profile is aligned with the curve, which is too much inside my stone, so I will change the alignment for the from the bottom to the middle. Bottom, this one, yeah. Okay. Now I create a second section with the same profile. Now, as you can see, the position is at 0.1. So to explain, on my curve, when I set a position from 0, it will put my selection at the beginning of my curve. If I put a section on 1, it will put the section at the other end of the curve. So because it is 0.1, I can do a symmetrical position at the other end. Okay, if I create a third section on position 1, it will be at the top. This will not be in the right orientation, so I will turn it. I will turn my profile up here, make it straight. Let's say we have 60 degrees. That looks okay. Yeah, it will turn nicely. Okay, I'll create another one. And here, if you remember, my second profile was at 0.1. So this one I will put at 0.9, and it will have the same position but on the other end of my curve. Now I want these triangular profiles to go into my shank, so I will add a new section and I will use my rectangular profile. As you can see, it takes the properties of the last one I used, so I will reset my section, and instead of the 0.2 I have on my position, I will use 0.25, which will set my section here in the middle of my setting. Okay, then I will create another section at the other side. Because I can't mirror it, it's not symmetrical, I have to add a section, and I will place it instead of 0.25 at 0.75, which is exact the position on the other side of the curve. Okay. Now I still have to put my D-shaped profile at the bottom, so I will make a new section, which I will place at the bottom at 0.4, let's say. Okay, and I will add a new one at 0.6 to make it more symmetrical. It's a bit mathematical, but it's quite easy to place the sections where you want them. Okay, now with my preview, I can see my shank. The crossing of the prongs is not yet perfect, but I can adjust after I validate. Okay, so the crossing here is a bit too much, so when I go back into the sketch of my curve, I can adjust my points and I will modify them as I need. Okay, let me see. Now I still always need a little connection over here just for the strength of the shank, but it looks okay. Okay. Now, because of the fact I have an intersection here, it can give a problem on my solid, but I have a trick to solve that. I will cut the ring in two. For that I need a straight curve, preferably in the middle on the bottom. I will use this curve to make an extrusion. Yeah. Okay. Okay, both sides, which will result in a surface. Now this surface has no thickness, but it will look like a really sharp knife, so I will do a boolean with my ring and my surface. And if I do a boolean, I can subtract the surface and it will divide my ring in two. As it is a boolean, it will still be one object, but since it's cut in two, I can do an extraction of my shank, which will make it a group. And then I can filter it and get left and right sides separated. Okay, this way I have two parts, and now I can say those two parts I will reunite with a boolean. And it will be one piece again, but without intersection. Okay, so what I will do now is want this prong also on the other side, so I will cut my ring in half. I will use my plane to cut it with, and I have my OXZ plane that's going through the middle of my ring, which will cut my ring in two. Keep notice there is a keep and delete side, and of course I want to keep the side with my prong. So if I validate it, I will have half a ring. I will do another mirror and join them, but to make sure there will not be a problem, because it's a quite large surface that has to touch, I'm going to remove this surface, which will make my ring a hollow. Up here you can see that the intersection is solved because there's a nice opening, which means there is no more overlapping. So I can now mirror it on the same plane as I did my cutting, and as you will see, it will make a nice V shape here. I will use the two surfaces and make a weld to put them together, and this way it will be a solid again without intersection. So for me that looks okay. Okay, next thing I will do, I build my prongs a little high. This is okay for production, but for rendering it will not look so nice, so I will cut them. I will pre-select the ring and cut with the Z direction just above the girdle of my stone. Okay, and now to finish I will do a multi-bulge on top of my prongs. I will select my three prongs I want to make rounded. I'm not going to make them too high. Trick is to add number of points when you have multiple surfaces. So let's go for that. Let's see with a preview what it says. Okay, it seems okay, so validate. Okay, looks okay so far for my ring. Okay, so it touches nicely and it has enough strength. The only thing I see is that my ring is not rounded in the bottom, so I will adjust my history. As you can see, I'm going back inside the tree for my sweeping wizard. Back a bit. Okay, and as you can see, my profile didn't change to my D-shape profile, so I will adjust it now on the left one and on the right one. I will validate and everything will recompute by the parametry. Okay, as you can see, it's all good now. So parametry is a real advantage in this software. It's really nice. Okay, now I want to add some stones. So let's do a castle setting on my shank. I will use my shank as a guide. I will use the extract UV curves on my ring, let's say on this side first. Now here you can change the positions. Okay, let's play with it. Up here you can say you can alter the side and from where. Let's put it at 0.5. It looks like 0.2 millimeters, so I will keep the setting and validate. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Also there, the same settings. And this will give me my two side curves follow the external shape of my ring. Okay, now I'm going to alter these curves from my setting. I will determine from where to where I want my stones. I will do it rail by rail using modify curves. First I will link my curve to my multi-bulge, my ring, so that way it will keep the orientation of my surface. Keeps it round here, and now I will trim my curve to determine from where to where I want my stones. Okay, it doesn't have to be really exact, I can alter it later, I can play with it. And from this side I will go somewhere to the middle, and this will give me a nice start here and go up, and this will give me, okay, a bit more, okay, this will give me one side of my ring. Now for the other side I will make a twin copy of my curve, which will be exact the same. But now I can use the other extract curves instead of this one, and it will create the other curve with exactly the same properties. Okay, I will do the same on the other side of the ring. So link to my multi-bulge and trim my curve. Okay, does not have to be all that exact, I can modify. Okay, and validate. Okay, also here for my second curve a twin copy and change my curve. Okay, I will hide my two extraction curves so I can see my left and my right. Okay, to place my stones between those curves I select both, right side or left side first, doesn't matter. And I will go to my variable channel in my jeweler bench. Okay, now my stones seem to be upside down, so I reverse the direction to turn them. I will also start from the bottom of the curve and go up. And I can also add more stones. I can also decide to put my stones a little bit higher. Okay, and validate. Now I will do the same on the other side. Go channel. These are already in the right position and starting from the bottom, so that's okay. I will add some stones. Now if you see there's a warning sign on top, that doesn't mean anything. It just says that I have more stones in my list than in my shape, but that's no problem. Okay, the height a bit, and also there, when I'm pleased, I validate. Okay, and this will make my 2 rails. Good. I will now go and add a stone. I'll make it a diamond. Okay, now I will select my 2 variable channels along with my stone, and I will do a jeweling. And validate. Okay, good so far. Now I will prepare my castle setting. It's necessary for the rendering. Now I will need profiles, 2 profiles, one for between my stones and one on my stone. So I will be going back to my sketch and I will build my 2 curves. First one for a cutter between my stones. I want to make a nice sharp shape to open my prongs. Okay, so this is the one, the cutter for between my stones. We'll make it open. Yep, looks okay. And now I'm going to create a circle to create this shape of my castle setting. Size is not really important. I will adapt, it will automatically adapt to the size of the stone. Okay, now to create my setting, I will use my micro setting tool, first option, to select my stones, then my micro setting tool. It will first select or create my cutter between my stones. Now I can adjust my profile, my size and my position. Make it a little higher on offset, play with it. I don't want it too deep. I can also play with the shape of my cutter, and it's always playing with both to see. Now what I also can do is I can bend my shape, which gives it a nice touch to my setting. Let's say I take 85 or 80 degrees. Yeah, looks okay. And on a preview it never touches, so it seems okay. Validate. Yes, good. Now I'm gonna do my second profile on my stones. So I will reselect my jeweling, go back to the micro setting, and here I will use the not between but on stones. Take the circle as a profile, and I will also bend it, maybe resize the height and the size of my circle. Yeah, why not? Looks okay. I have the space, and I will bend also my 80% or 80 degrees. Okay, validate. Yep, looks good. Okay, now I will do a boolean with my ring and my cutters for my setting. So I select first my ring shank and then my 2 micro settings, and I will do a boolean subtract. Okay, this looks good. Yep. Okay, now next thing I need is a cutting. In between here, and I will do it by using my two curves at the side, and I will make a curve in between. Okay, I will select the normal drop. This way the curve will follow the surface of my shank, and I will also do it for the other side. And validate that one. Okay, now I will make a multi-pipe of these curves to make a cutter in between. As you can see, my curve is not coming inside my V-shape, so I will modify it with modify curves. First I will link to my multi-bulge again. As you can see, it is turned into a Boolean operation, so I will have to go back into my 3D design history and select my multi-bulge there. The other one has holes in it, so it won't be that good. And now I will trim my curve, but as you can see, I can't move on, it's not long enough. So first I'm going to extend my curve. Extend my curve at the left side with the arrow. I just drag. I take it longer into the middle, and when I go back to trim, that is solved. On the top of my curve, I'm going to do the same, but it will not be necessary because the curve is long enough there. So I will just drag it into the middle. Okay, and validate. Now I can use this curve to create a multi-pipe. I will use a curve from the, or a section from the library. I will take my shield up. Okay, just again size and position. So I do a visual touching. Let's say this 1.2 and the height on 1.1. It's easy to remember. The preview, okay, looks great. So validate. Okay, I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Also here, let us modify the curve. Link to support using the multi-bulge again, and do a trim curve. We start at the top and drag it down. Curve is okay, nicely in the middle. And now we go, oops, sorry, now we go back to the side here, and as you can see, here we have the same problem. So we're going to extend the curve. If it's not the left side, then it's the right side. So we drag a little down. And we validate. So now we make another multi-pipe. And we take the same curve and properties. Okay, there you go. Okay, now as you can see, the shape will be a little bit more narrow here. So I'm going to adjust it by simply doing a taper. and drag it a little thinner. Okay, then I will use the advanced tab because it's not everywhere, and I will go for a break. Not me, but my multi-pipe, of course. Okay, looks good. Let's validate. Okay. If we see it's not touching here, we can always alter the modify curves and pull it just a little bit further. Okay, and that seems okay. Other side seems okay. Good. Here, okay. So now let's do another boolean with my ring and my two multi-pipes. Subtract and validate. Okay, seems good. Now what I need to do is drill holes for my stones, so I will use my multi-cutter tool. Okay, let's say we modify the part top and adjust it to the side of the stone. The bottom side, let's play with it. I will freeze my ring to see what it does. On my bottom part, I will set my mode as custom and drag it a little deeper. This way I can play with my multi-cutter tool. Okay, and the bottom side I will drag up because it's too long now. Okay, I just have to check if it's sticking out everywhere because my ring is not always the same height and my stones can be a little smaller. Okay, and just adjust the size of this bottom part so it's a bit of a conical cutter. Let's validate and see what it does. Okay, looks good. So now do a boolean with my ring shank and my cutters. Okay. Okay, seems good. It's a nice castle setting. So the only thing I have to do now is still cut my top stone out of my prongs for the rendering. So also there I'll make a multi-cutter, adjust my top part to my stone, to my table sides, and my bottom part, no, I need this, and drag it a little down the color of the stone. Validate and do one more boolean with my ring and my last multi-cutter. Okay. Okay, seems okay. When I hide my stone, it's nicely cut in my prongs. Okay. So this way I have created my V-shaped ring, of course like this, with the channel setting everywhere. I'm gonna hide some of my curves. It's not necessary, but perhaps it's a little bit nicer to show. Let me hide some of my sketches. Okay, still one curve there. Maybe I can also hide my planes. Okay, so here my ring created. Of course you can do numerous variations like this of this ring, so I would invite you to really play with these building techniques and create your own models. I will show the image again. Yeah. So I'd say enjoy it, create some and show them with us. We will be pleased to see your results. So now I want to thank everybody for watching. I will give my screen to Maxim, who will do a demo on high-end jewelry. Maxim, thank you for this. So to everybody, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.